Hi, everybody. So I did Should the Curriculum Be Standardized for All? My name is Stephanie Jarvis, and I did my presentation with Elizabeth Marsoniak. So let's move along to some key questions that are going to be throughout our presentation. What is the goal of public education, and how does the curriculum selected reflect all of those goals that those schools have? What subjects are included in their curriculum, and then what methods are used to teach the curriculum. So I am doing the positive side, that curriculum should be standardized for all. So implementation, it's very easy to implement within the classroom. The standards and the pace are set and ready for teachers to use, and they have their regiment, and it helps keep that path of learning really strict and structured. There's no risks through changing, so teachers don't have to change the lessons, and they know that these curriculum lessons work with students and that students can learn the adequate information needed. All students have access to the curriculum, so students who are poor or rich, they all would be able to get an adequate curriculum and lessons and a good school teaching where they would be able to be citizens in society that are up to the standards of society. One of the things with implementing standardized curriculum is that poor teachers or teachers who are not very good at creating lessons and implementing lessons, it's already step by step laid out for them, so it should be pretty easy and they can't really do harm to the students' learning if they just stick to their script. The assessments are really easy, and it's also really easy to compare them to majority of students, even from across districts, so we can see how students are on grade level with relation to other students. And standardized curriculums have expectations that are set for what students should know and be able to do independently during a specific grade or a specific time of the year, where they can do these things by themselves, or we should be able to move on to the next step in the more complex aspects of the curriculum. So structure. So students perform better in structured environments. It's been researched, and they've noticed that when students have schedules that are stated and followed daily, that they know the routine, they would be able to do it by themselves. So teachers and students both have those schedules that are set in place to help the flow of the classroom, and also it doesn't just help with curriculum, it also helps with behavior, and having kids in those routines helps them focus and get to work. So teachers who are underqualified or maybe just beginning, so first year teachers, standardized curriculum is really helpful to them because they can just follow along and they can use this curriculum already in place without having to create their own yet, or they can elaborate a little bit on this curriculum to create their own lessons for future use at other schools, as long as it's on the same lines of this standardized curriculum. So when they're teaching clocks, students have to learn about clocks, and teachers can maybe have a little leeway on what to do, but there is that curriculum there to help them with what they need to be teaching. Consistency. I think this is a big yes, and needed for everyone. That's why standardized curriculum is super important. It's the same across the districts, it's the same across grade levels. So if a student moved in the middle of third grade from one side of the state to the whole other side, they'd still be learning the same thing and they wouldn't be behind or bored if they already learned everything. So it's consistent. Districts keep everything the same at the same pace, and all students are learning the same things during the same grade. So it's really helpful in that aspect. The tests help to determine the students' relation and how they are learning compared to the other students in the class. So we're not supposed to compare students, but it helps to know where they are in relation to others and if they need that little extra assistance. And this consistent curriculum helps teachers also determine if students need extra help or IEPs or maybe just a little one-on-one or extra time to get through the work that they have to get through throughout that year. Some objectives is that the school should have one main objective, and then each grade can have smaller objectives related to that giant objective. So their objectives need to, of the whole school, it corresponds to the future of students and children. So there's 3 different aspects in that. So society, it provides all the students and children an opportunity to develop personally and to grow and change as people, not just through learning classroom material and subjects. They get to learn about themselves and who they are. Also, the objectives of schools are to help students become citizens in the United States and be involved in politics and every other responsibility that they need to be doing. And schools should have an objective that students are going to work. Everyone's going to work when they get out of school. Eventually, they have to make a living, they have to earn their money. So schools' goals should be to help students be able to do that in an easy and more comfortable way. So in the reading, it talked about the Padilla curriculum. I'm not quite sure if I'm saying that correctly. But it had 3 columns, and it showed that there were 3 real different ways of teaching and learning for teachers and students. So in the first column, it talked about how they acquire knowledge in different subject areas. So that could be through language and literature, could be through math, science, history, social studies, and all of those different subject areas. And then in the middle column, the second column, it was about developing skills, critical thinking skills, intellectual skills, ways to communicate. So that's through reading, writing, speaking, listening, even some math and science skills such as measuring, calculating, problem solving. So those were all in the middle column of this curriculum. And then the last one was about the understanding of the ideas. So that's through books that aren't textbooks. So it's novels, stories, poems, essays, through visual arts. So paintings, music, dramas and plays, movies, TV shows. So there's all of those. So here is the actual chart from the reading. It might be cut off a little bit on this screen, but so there's the first column with all the goals, the means, and the different subject areas and activities that are Within them, there's the second column, which was about the different skills, and then the third column, which was about the values. So if you want to pause, look it over, you can do that. It also talked about this quintessential element where learning has to be active. It's got to use every part of the brain and the mind, not just pinpointing one spot and flourishing that. So students typically learn through discovery and doing things by themselves. And teachers are really supposed to be there to help push students to be independent and try and go through that process of learning how to do things. Trial and error. Students learn how to tie their shoes by watching from their parents and taking time to try. And it's the same process through growing up from babies, learning how to walk and talk, until senior year of high school when they're still learning who they are and how to do things. And then my last slide is about some of the goals of the public education. So we want students to be community and be citizens in our community, earning wages and being proactive and involved within the society. We want students to develop their critical thinking skills, and we want them to be learning all the time, whether it's through higher education or through life. I always say learn something new every day, and I think schools are wanting that for kids also, to just learn a little bit something new every day.